Good morning. You listen to the BLAINESWORLD show, heard each Wednesday here on WPVM in Asheville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at WPVM.org, and you can watch on WPVM's Facebook page. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and each week we focus on not only the actual theater scene, but also on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first guest, and she is Laurie Richardone. Do I have it correctly?
Correct though.
Correct though, I love it. Welcome aboard, Laurie. Laurie is founder and developer of a company we'll find out more about called The Taste for All Seasons. And Laurie, you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Asheville.
Okay.
Nice to be here.
Well, nice to have you here. And she mentioned that Laurie's three decade career positions as an expert in various, I like that, modalities. She's an entrepreneur and pioneer of natural products. She owned the Anita Louise Salon in Santa Fe and pioneered a holistic skin and hair care line. Her salon and product line was acknowledged with the World's Best Award in Travel and Leisure magazine. Very nice. She's also a seasonal gluten-free chef and recipe developer, creator of YouTube cooking classes. She's a writer who currently is working on an upcoming seasonal cookbook, She's a certified health coach, and she grew up in New York and learned the magic of seasonal cooking from her family's Brooklyn garden and restaurateur father. Did he own a restaurant?
He had a few restaurants, one in Little Italy years ago, Blaine, which of course is non-existent now, and my father's also passed. But yes, he did, and so my cooking career started at a very young age.
Well, let me ask you, I'm always curious about that. You said it started at a young age. Do you remember the very first thing you ever cooked?
Chicken franchise.
You remember that?
I remember it vividly.
Oh, is that super? How old were you?
I was 10.
Were you? And this was, you made the dish and it was served for dinner or served at a holiday?
It was served for dinner. It was just, in our home kitchen. And of course, now being gluten-free too, I have morphed it into a beautiful modern chicken franchise with almond flour that's equally delicious. There's just the technique and recipe applies to all types of food, whatever type of food you're cooking.
I want to put you on the spot here in terms of somewhere down the line when we get to meet in person, we should do a taste test, and
I already planned on making you something, Blaine.
No, but I'm thinking out loud with you, not so much that, but I'm thinking out loud. You said everything you cook now is gluten-free?
Yes,
now,
my kitchen is 100% gluten-free.
Can people tell the difference?
No.
And
I say this with humility. Oftentimes, like my pastry crust melts in your mouth. Oftentimes, it's better than a lot of wheat crusts or biscuits or scones. And I do say that with humility. So I just had to repeat that.
Tell me how you got into cooking gluten-free.
Well, several years back, I had some chronic stomach issues and headaches, and it was suggested to me that I give up wheat and gluten. So at that point, I would have done anything. And this is what actually inspired me to go to the Integrative Institute for Nutrition, where I studied health coaching and got certified in health coaching. So I gave up wheat, and shortly after, in a very short period of time, my stomach aches just dissolved away. Still get a headache every now and again, but nowhere near as severe as that was. And that was a game changer for me. So I really, now it's become my mission and my joy to share what I've learned, experienced, and with other people to also dissolve the myth that gluten-free is of lesser cuisine.
Now, is that for everybody though, in terms of, like, I consider myself relatively healthy, yes. Not gluten-free.
Yes.
Should I go gluten-free or a mixture or?
Well, Blaine, gluten-free alone doesn't mean that you're eating healthy. There's a lot of gluten-free processed food out there that I don't eat any processed food really, maybe once in a rare while, because I believe everything in moderation. But interestingly enough, 17% of Americans eat a gluten-free diet, and it's not because they have to. They feel better. They like the idea of exploring other flours like almond flour or garbanzo flour, chestnut flour. There's so many possibilities. So I think it would be beneficial for everyone.
I'm not there yet. Maybe meeting you or working with you, I'll become more so. But what I do know is that so many famous athletes switch from their regular diets to become gluten-free diets, and if possible, they've actually become better athletes, or they seem to do better when they've gone that gluten-free route. So.
Well, yes, and I would argue that a piece of that, what's really important, is that you're starting with really good ingredients that are organically grown and don't have the pesticides and chemicals in them. So gluten-free alone doesn't necessarily mean you're eating healthy, delicious food.
And talk a little bit back to, you were saying you started out then as a 10-year-old, your first dish. And by the way, what I want to do, it's too bad we're not doing it on today's show, but it's too bad we don't have a record of that, recorded record of that. And I want to give you an option that when you laugh, but when we have you on again, for another show, or if I get you to do your own show, we'll have you recreate that recipe, your first recipe. Do you still have it, the recipe?
As a matter of fact, my chicken franchise is on my YouTube channel. It's one of my cooking classes, so it's available. My YouTube channel is Laurie Richardone at YouTube. Also, all my YouTube videos are on my website, laurierichardone.com. So you can see me making and have the recipe of my chicken franchise.
How many recipes are there?
There's about maybe 15 on my YouTube channel. Yes. So.
Okay. And so how long are the clips?
They're fairly short, about 6-8 minutes. My classes, virtual classes that we, perhaps might touch on, will be a little bit more in depth and different. But for YouTube, for the most part,
Sure.
you want to keep it pretty short.
And so, if we want to learn how to cook any of these recipes, we could watch them. And are they fairly simple to do? Like I don't consider myself a cook.
That's okay. They are fairly simple to do. And I think that, again, if you start with really good ingredients, you don't have to do too much to food, Blaine. It doesn't have to be complicated. Again, it's, let the ingredients be the star, and then have a simple technique. That's accessible to people, I think, is important these days.
Because as you're talking, I'm going to I have one YouTube cooking clip, and I'll send it to you. And I show people how to make almond butter and banana sandwiches. So that's my specialty. But I actually have a clip on that.
Okay.
But I like almond butter.
All right, definitely send it on over. Almond butter and banana sandwich.
Right, and maybe you could use that sometime along the lines.
There you go.
But talk to me about the whole concept. We're kidding about this, but in terms of even learning cooking and healthy cooking as opposed to any kind of cooking.
Yes.
I guess you get asked this, or I'll ask you, can anybody learn how to cook?
I think that anyone could learn how to cook. I think that what's really important is that you have the desire to learn how to cook. And I think also appreciate food. I think that there has to be a little motivation there or inspiration there. So someone that appreciates eating and enjoys good food, I think they would be a little bit inspired to cook. And also, to make it fun and accessible. I have a class, I call it kind of, gluten-free cooking 101, just mastering the basics of what has food taste good, because there are certain elements, Blaine, that always need to be in place. And if you follow those 4 things, which is salt, acid, fat, and heat, and learn how to balance flavors, you will always cook well.
As a kid, was cooking fun for you? Did you enjoy
I loved to cook. My grandmother, cooked for 11 children. I was, on Saturday, I made the meatball mixture with her on Saturdays for our Sunday dinner. And I still make her meatballs, only they're gluten-free, but I still soak the bread in milk. I make my own bread, and my meatballs, you would never know they're gluten-free. So I was the taster, and my grandmother was also one of my early teachers. So I've had a love affair with food since I'm 10 years old, Blaine.
I think you said one of the keys to this whole process is that you learned how to cook because of your parents, and you cooked with your mother or you cooked with your parents.
My mother was not a cook.
But your father wasn't, and your grandmother was.
Yes.
But I think that's important. And I don't think enough parents do that either. I know my parents didn't. That I never cooked. I don't recall ever cooking with my mother, and that's a shame, because had I done so, maybe I would have enjoyed it.
And I think food is universal. And I think it is probably the most powerful element that connects people. Gathering at a table is such a beautiful thing. And I think it's really important to teach young kids how to cook, and just simple basic things. One, it connects them to the family, you know, gets them off maybe their technology a little bit. And I think cooking can absolutely be an asset in one's life, even if you keep it very simple.
At what age should you start cooking with a child?
It depends on the child, I think, you know, and depends on their interest. And, you know, some kids you could start, you know, 4 or 5 years old. I have some friends that have kids that they, you know, pull them in, you know, baking cookies, things that are fun for them. But, you know, there's a lot of, all of my desserts are actually, you know, I call them like guilt-free, incredible recipes that, you know, you feel good about eating. And children usually would like to start with probably things that are a little bit on the sweeter side, but still really healthy, that, you know, the parents could feel good about their kid eating them.
By the way, I could see you doing that also, teaching a course, if you haven't done so already, for cooking with children. Have you done that at all?
I did that when I was in Florida. I worked in a mom and pop. It was a kitchen store, and I did cooking classes there. And I had a couple of classes for teenagers, not, you know, little kids, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I'm thinking out loud, you know, this would be a tremendous virtual activity, you know, that what do you want to do with the kids? Something fun, and they could learn, have a lifelong skill. Wouldn't that be great to you know, have a course? You're cooking there, they're cooking at home, just food for thought. I know you mentioned you called her a national, was it a natural seasonal chef?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, you know, my philosophy is simple, Blaine. It's to cook with the seasons, to seek the freshest ingredients you can, organically grown whenever possible, and most important, to cook with love. Anyone that has eaten a ripe tomato picked at its peak season knows this to be true. You know, seasonal food, and of course, organically grown. I have a relationship here with a lot of my farmers here in Asheville, and it tastes exponentially better. So eating with the seasons, you know, food that naturally grows at a particular time of the year, just has it simply taste better. And you have all the vitamins and nutrients and minerals that are in organically grown food. In terms of the natural chef part. So I only use organic ingredients, and you don't have to do too much to the food. You know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know, shave some Parmesan on a tomato, and you've never tasted anything so good. So cooking with the seasons is nature's way of telling us this is the way one will eat well.
So, for example, this upcoming, you know, Thanksgiving season.
Yes.
What are some of the things we should be cooking with?
Well, you know, speaking of, you know, the holidays are coming up. I'm currently working on, I just completed a little holiday ebook. And if you subscribe to my website, so if you visit my website, laurierichardone.com, I'm offering this holiday appetizers as a gift. So that's available, and there's just a lot of healthy, delicious little recipes. I think people are cooking a little simpler also right now. At the farmer's market, you know, there's a lot of root vegetables and potatoes. Just see what's available. Sweet potatoes, you know, some people eat meat, not everyone does. A lot of people are eating plant-based food. But my little holiday book is kind of a little inspiration to get your party rolling, to make some just small dishes, so you kind of keep it easy. And I think, you know, it depends on what your palate is, what you're interested in. There's a lot of different ways that people eat these days. You know, there's so many different dietary, you know, whether you're vegan or vegetarian. And I think that, you know, my little book and a lot of my recipes on my website too could be a good inspiration for the holidays.
Reminds me of a cartoon I saw several years ago, a Thanksgiving dinner. And there are 27 different requests, you know.
You're right. Yeah, I know. Yes.
27 different
That's
people.
That's exactly what's happened these days. So.
But I guess it's a challenge, though, as a cook, as a mother, as a grandmother, as somebody who runs a party, and that is a challenge, to find something that kind of pleases everybody, or can be eaten by everybody.
And yes, it can be a challenge. And that's why like they're gluten-free recipes, but you could eliminate the little dab of butter. You can make them vegan. They're all vegetarian. So really these little, my ebook, my holiday appetizer ebook is really for everyone. And, you can be sure that your guests are going to leave not feeling guilty. I know that parties are a little bit more intimate and smaller this holiday season, but even if it's just, your family, there'll be something for everyone. And yeah, it's definitely more challenging to cook for people.
By the way, so everybody takes advantage of your very sweet offer. If you would spell the last name too, so people don't get confused.
My
in
last
terms
name?
Of to go to your website.
Okay, so you want me to spell my
spell
first
the whole,
name as well?
Well, they can, yeah.
So it's LaurieRichardone.com.
Okay, so it's not an I, it's an E at the end.
It's an E,
.com.
yes,
Okay.
.com.
Very sweet. And if they go there, they can get this free ebook.
If they just go to the homepage and subscribe, they will get an ebook sent right to their inbox, and then they could just open it up and they will have my recipe book.
Okay, and if they subscribe, what else do they get if they subscribe?
Well, a little cookbook isn't enough.
No, I'm saying they get.
No, I'm just kidding.
You have a blog or you have recipes.
Yes, of course I do. Just made a little joke there.
Yeah, I got it. Took me a while.
Yeah, I just made a little joke. I have a plethora of recipes on my website, absolutely. And my YouTube cooking classes are on my website as well. So they have cooking classes. They could actually learn how to cook on my website and just look at the tutorials and the recipes. They're all written out. They could print them out. I have a beautiful buttermilk turkey breast on my recipe, if just for a smaller gathering, if someone wants to make that for the holidays. And I always appreciate comments too, by the way, or my email address is on my website. And that's just info@laurierichardone.com. They could always shoot me an email if they have a question. I'm happy to reply and help in any way.
And let's talk a little bit, Laurie, too, that aside from having this website, the videos, all this other stuff you do, you seem to also be doing about 27 other things almost simultaneously. I know, for example, and something that's definitely needed for all folks, including yours truly, you also, I guess, have become you're a health coach.
Yes, I am.
And what does that mean?
Well, Blaine, I think that we all need coaching in life. When I had my salon and my product line all those years, it's a very full plate. A lot of people are very busy these days. And a friend of mine who had a very successful interior design company had recommended that I meet with her business coach, which I did. And whatever kind of coach you are, it's a way to support people, to guide people, to have accountability. And I found that very, very valuable. And I think that, we all need coaching in life. We're not meant to do it alone. But as a health coach, going back to that, again, it's that support, learning and understanding. I do a health history with people to get an understanding where they are, if they have any issues. I'm also a bit of a detective as a health coach, because you have to kind of identify certain behaviors or patterns. And, just someone to tell you, like take baby steps and it takes a lifetime for our health really to evolve and change. It's always changing. And, a health coach supports that.
And I was going to ask you that too, because even as you say it, kind of the concern or fear I might have is, well, am I going to have to stop everything,
No.
I don't want to go to 100% gluten-free tomorrow, but it can be done over a period of time.
Blaine, my mother, actually, just a quick little story, can be done over a period of time. And, I call it crowding out. It's like, don't take everything away, because no one wants to be deprived of their food. So if you could add some healthy things in, maybe eliminate a couple of things, dairies kind of can be a culprit, they have like elimination diets, but I think to go slowly with people, particularly if it's people that are not maybe eating well, or gluten-free diet is new for them, to do it more slowly. And my 85-year-old mother now is completely gluten-free. And we found out that she actually has a sensitivity to gluten, and she had a lot of chronic inflammation. And I said, Mom, I'm, gently always telling her, just give up wheat, just see, and then her doctor that I told them, please test my mother for gluten. And she does have a sensitivity. So she's on board now because she's feeling better. She has more energy.
Right.
But slowly, Blaine. I don't think that we're meant to do anything really fast. I think, just like people go on diets, it's why diets don't work, because it's all or nothing. It comes from deprivation a little bit. So just a little bit at a time, and just start incorporating some healthy, locally grown food into your diet a little bit.
And you say it, I can kind of see the value of working with you or other folks, because to me, it sounds like almost overwhelming. It's saying that,
Yes.
I've lived my life a certain way and I eat a certain kind of way. I want to say I'm proud of it.
Yes.
I eat a lot of garbage, and a lot of people do. So to have to switch, we were talking about before, overnight would be very difficult for me. And also to have somebody, and I guess that's your job, is to kind of gather all this information to me.
Yes.
And to share, I guess, some bits and pieces and what's relevant. What got your mother to switch, aside from the doctor?
Well, I've been drilling my mother for years, Blaine, really, seriously speaking, though, slowly encouraging her, cut this out, Mom, let's stop eating this, because I'll ask her, what did you have for lunch today? Because she'll say, oh, I have a terrible stomach ache or something.
Right.
And then I'll ask her what she had for lunch. And she had a Chardonnay, a heavy cream pasta, bread. And I'm not saying not to have that once in a while, because we all need to have whatever we want once in a while. But so, just very slowly. It took actually a long time, Blaine, but now she really, she's 85 years old. I said, Mom, if you don't know how many more years she has, but how do you want to live those years? Do you want to feel really good, have energy? So it's a choice, and a desire has to be there, Blaine, to want to feel good.
Now, has she changed her cooking also?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's completely gluten-free now. So she says.
Yeah, exactly. It's not here. Well, you'll see next time you see her. But talk about the fact that people, what do you tell people? I guess the health benefits. To be gluten-free is not necessarily or all natural or organic. It's not necessarily cheaper though, but is that true, or it might be a little bit more?
Gluten-free cooking is more expensive, absolutely. Right. Like almond flour, almonds, people that eat almonds, so some of the ingredients are a little bit more expensive. But, even when in my salon, I had a salon in Santa Fe for 20 years, and, people would say, oh gosh, maybe it's expensive. And I said, it's a matter of what's important to you. We all spend our money on something. I spend my money on ingredients, on food. I shop less. My money goes into, the organic farming. I have a direct relationship with my farmers here in Asheville. So it is a little bit more expensive, but again, don't have a Starbucks maybe every single day, and, get some beautiful ingredients that will support your well-being.
I'm thinking out loud with you. Another great clip you could do, or show somewhere along the lines of almost shopping with Laurie. I really think that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'll even do the camera work for you or something. But wouldn't that be fun to go to a store and to have you talk about what I should be looking at? Just food for thought.
It's funny that you say that, because as a health coach, also that's something that I offer, whether it's going, I take people to the farmer's market, go through the farmer's market, tell them how to choose ingredients, what farmers to have the best ingredients, and for me. So I love doing that. I mean, going to the market's one of my favorite things to do, sharing food, getting people inspired and getting people excited about it. So that's something that, as a health coach and just as a personal chef, that I offer to clients.
So let's think about doing that as a video somewhere along the line, or another show if I have you back on again.
Let's do it.
Because stuff, you're talking about stuff I never learned. So I never learned how to cook with my parents.
Yes.
I never learned how to shop with my parents. I never learned, for example, and you could help teach me how to choose a ripe melon. It's stuff.
Yes,
some
very
people know
important.
Intuitively, but there's a skill to picking out good stuff, as opposed to, I guess smell comes into,
Of course, you have to bring all your senses into it. Feel, smell, feeling is intuition for sure is a big piece of it. But smelling it, looking at it, what does it look like? I mean, there are just a lot of elements to it. And melons have their season as well. Just like a tomato. I don't eat tomatoes in the wintertime ever because it doesn't taste like a tomato. So I educate people on those elements, taking them to the market and sharing when things are in season and when they're at their peak and when you should eat them, that they're the most beneficial for you.
The one bad thing about having you as a guest, if I can tell you, is that I'm listening to this, I'm getting hungry,
That's the downside of virtual. I was going to bring something with me if I came to the studio, but we will definitely,
or you can show it to me virtually,
Yeah. Well, that'll make you more hungry, Blaine.
But that's a cute thing. Talk also about, Laurie, you mentioned kind of in passing, you also have cooking classes you run?
Yeah, I'm just in the process of, it's not posted on my website just yet, but I'm going to be creating virtual cooking classes. So there will be a video that I will do of a class, whether someone wants to do baking or depending on what their interests and palate and needs are, or they want to perfect a beautiful risotto. So we'll have a cooking class, and then there'll be a Zoom meeting, live chat with me, that we can go over, what happened in the class, pantry essentials, or whatever it is you want to talk about. And then the piece de resistance that I'm really excited about, I thought I'm going to make it available. I usually do a 3-course menu when I do a cooking class, and have it be available, the food that I've made in the class, available for pickup so that they can take it home, enjoy the food, and have the full experience, so that will really complete the class. So there are going to be different packages for that, and that's coming down the pipeline very soon.
Or I could see putting people on the spot would be fun too. You could offer what you put together, but then maybe that'd be the final exam or something, that they would have to cook an item too, bring it to your place or something, and then people could pick and choose, but that to really see if their stuff is, ready for prime time, so to speak. Fun thing too, tell me, so aside from you have the ebook, you have the cooking classes, in your spare time, what else are you working on? It seems like you're working on about 47 things at once.
I wear a lot of hats, Blaine, and but I enjoy all of it, and I'm passionate about all of it. I shoot most of my own cooking class videos now. I do have an editor that edits them. And I also do all my food photography. All the photography in my ebook is my photographs,
cool.
Of course, my food. So I love doing photography. I'm working on cooking videos, my YouTube channel, writing. I'm actually working on my second book, and I'm keeping it virtual right now. I think ebooks also could be really accessible to people, rather than going in and buying a hardcover book, just easier. And right now that we're virtual, I think it's just a beautiful thing that we can do that. So I spend a lot of my time writing, looking in other people's cookbooks, just inspiration. And I spend a lot of time in my kitchen creating. That's my happy place, Zane.
Well, it's really cool what you said, and I guess there's a skill to this as well, and I guess you could help people with this too, is making the food that you prepare both look good and photograph well.
We eat with our eyes first.
Yeah, and I guess people don't realize that, but
No.
it really does make a difference.
Yes.
I even seen your kitchen. The kitchen looks beautiful, and it's
Thank you.
very.
That's where I do classes typically. In my kitchen they're intimate classes, and I still actually, people that are comfortable, I can do one-on-one cooking classes, with our socially distancing, everyone washes their hands when they come in, of course. So I still do offer that, just making sure that everyone's feeling top notch. And because I love sharing food, and teaching is one of the things that I'm most passionate about, Blaine.
Laurie, if anybody wants to get in touch with you again, you mentioned the website's perhaps the best bet. What's that website again?
It's laurierichardone.com. And then my email is on my website as well. I also have an Instagram page, and they can direct message me on Instagram. I do have a Facebook business page as well. But my website probably, or Instagram, I have a couple of hundred visuals, all recipes that I've developed and dishes, and that you can go to my website, again, laurierichardone.com, and just take a look and see if you're inspired.
Anyway, I'd like to thank you for being my guest this first half hour on the Blaine's World Show. I'd also
you for
like
having me.
well, it's my pleasure. I'd also look forward to eventually meeting you
Yes.
if there's something in-person meeting sometime in our life.
Yes.
And you can, in saying goodbye to you, please say hello to our mutual friend, Jerry Rosa, in case he's watching.
I absolutely will. Yes,
Okay.
I absolutely will. Thank you very much, Blaine, for pulling me into your audience.
Oh, great. Loved having you. Thanks a lot.
All right.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So as we have Laurie disappear, and we're going to have our two other guests if I can find them. And that's disappeared. Laurie won't put in the waiting room, but I'm going to have my two other guests come on board if we can find them. And as they're coming on board, there's Razor. Hi, hey Razor. Paul's with us as well. Let me just mention, as we're waiting for other guests, that I'd like to remind you that WPVM's mission is to foster community through programming that cultivates dialogue to inform and entertain. The station provides a medium for artists, businesses, community leaders, and nonprofits to share their views on live radio. Listeners are invited to help support WPVM's efforts by making a tax-deductible contribution. You can do so by going to the website, wpvmfm.org, and looking at the donate option on the upper right-hand side. We have one of our guests. I think Paul is here too. Paul, want to get?
Yep.
Paul, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, we can't see you yet though. Can you make yourself visible? That'd be great.
That's interesting. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, hey
Hi.
Paul. Okay. Oh, I'm really excited to have you on board. We were speaking before you just got on with our other guests. Let me just introduce the two of you. My two guests are I won't say his real name, but it's DJ Razor. And DJ, you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world. And also somebody by the name of DJ Broadway, who I also know him as Paul Gerber. And welcome aboard, Paul. Good seeing you again.
Me too.
Okay, and same thing, you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world too. Everybody's watching. Okay,
Hey, everybody.
and I'd like to welcome you guys aboard. And I should mention that Cory heads, I guess you founded it, an entertainment group from a tight-knit family that strives for excellence in the interpersonal experience that we offer. Born and raised, he has 13 plus years of entertainment experience. He brings the heat to any special event. I like that. Paul, aka known as DJ Broadway, has been experienced performing in the theater for the last 35 years. You started at what, 3? Is that when you started?
Well, it was actually started theater at 6.
Okay.
Did my first professional show at 9. So.
And Paul, in addition to doing that, has been an experienced DJ for the last 12 years and is now connected with 4 Dreamers. And I guess, Razor, that's the name of your company, 4 Dreamers?
Yes.
Okay.
Z, not an S.
Okay, known as. And talk a little bit about this business. Before we even have you talk about the business you guys have started, you've been a DJ for a bunch of years as well. Is that correct?
Yes,
how long?
Yes. 13 will be 14 next February.
Okay. Before you were what got you into being a DJ?
Well, short story, our old boss caught me drinking one night at a bar, and he liked the way I talked, and he asked me to introduce him. And that's basically how it started. And then the next, I got a phone call the next couple days after that, and I've been stuck in it ever since, man.
Now, also, you were telling me off the air, aside from being a DJ, you also are on radio as well. You've done a lot of radio?
Yes, I was the promotion director for iHeartMedia for 3 years. I did radio spots where I got to meet all kinds of really cool people, a lot of country artists, a lot of up and comers, and a lot of them are so good friends of mine. So I'm very humbled to be where I was at and I learned a lot then to be where I'm at now.
Okay. And I'll ask the same question, but I'm trying to figure this out, Paul. Should I call you Paul or DJ Broadway?
I guess since we're on the 4 Dreamers subject here, you can just say DJ Broadway. That's fine.
Okay. How'd you get that name, by the way, DJ Broadway?
Well, duh.
Well, for the people who don't know you, I know you, but some people don't know you.
No, it's so we have a theater background, and generally most DJ names, and you can ask Razor how he got his, but I don't know if he can say it on air or not, but
I can, yeah.
Well, finish your story.
Just because of the theater background and being an entertainer, as I have been for so many years, I found it fitting. And most people get their DJ names from somebody else, and in my case, I kind of named myself, just because I just thought that was the fitting name to go with.
Now, how long have you been doing the DJ stuff?
12 years.
I didn't know that.
On and off. I've been off for the last few years, but I know that Cory and I have been friends for almost all that time, and I've been, I was very fortunate to be able to work with him prior to Four Dreamers, and I wanted to get back into it, and I knew he was, he started up this business, and for me it was kind of a no-brainer. If I wanted to get back into it, I was going to go to him first. We have a lot of mutual respect for each other, and that's, for me it was kind of an easy thing to do.
Because when I think about it in terms of what you do, this is almost like a perfect field for you, because a DJ, I guess, is also an entertainer, or a good DJ is an entertainer. I've seen some bad ones. And now you got me curious, Razor, about your story. If you can, the public story you can tell of your background. When you didn't want to be Cory anymore, Cory Miller, you became DJ Razor.
And it's funny that you say that, because my kids, they know me as Daddy or Razor. There's no in between. They don't. I think my oldest daughter's asked me what my real name was, and I'm like, it's Razor. I got that name. I tried a different DJ name many years ago, and it turned terrible south real quick. And then I just ended up, I was shaving in the shower one day, and I was like, what about Razor? And it stuck. So it's I don't know, man. I hear, I don't know how to say it. My friends know me as Razor. My close friends call me Cory, and it's just, if they call me by my real name, I'm in trouble. So I'm like, oh God, what do I do? But I don't know, man. There's only 3 Razors in the United States. I'm one of them, and it's really cool. I am. I had to Google, and there's a lot behind the scenes when you make a business, because you don't want copyrights, you don't want to step on someone else's toes, and I'm the only one on the East Coast right now, so it's a very humbling experience.
Well, it's interesting. We just taught Paul something. He didn't even know your name was Cory. So now we know he has something other than Razor. But let me ask you this, Cory. So the company now has been in business, you said 13, 14 years, was it?
No, I've been a DJ for 13, 14 years. My company's finally taken off. And then all of this was my brother's idea, and I can't. I don't want to take any credit for it, because he was the one. I was in a very bad spot in my life. I was very depressed. I didn't know what to do. He was like, you got to do this. And I've got to give a lot of the credit to my brother. His idea, he helped me get to it. And then he kind of like, he did his own thing. He was gone. He kind of helped me do that. And he was like, you know what? You've got it now. You don't need my help. You got this. And he just kind of left the scene. And quick shout out. I'm to my brother, thank you, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now with the business and everything.
Do you remember your first DJ gig?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. It's a little place called, I don't know if it's still open or not, a little place called Scandals. It was a gay bar. And that was my first gig. And there's so much to say about it. That was my first experience as a DJ that night. And that's how my old DJ name didn't work out. And so Razor just stuck after that.
So, I told Paul this idea, and I'll ask you the same question in a second, Paul. But wouldn't it be cool if we had a tape of that, especially if you show your kids, Razor, that,
oh God.
that the first time 13, 14 years ago, here was dad when he began. Wouldn't that be cool, though?
They wouldn't recognize me. I didn't have a beard. I didn't have any facial hair. I didn't have any tattoos. They would be like, who's this guy?
Paul, the same question. What was your first DJ gig?
My My first DJ gig actually was down in Greenville. I was shadowing another DJ at the time, and it was a private bar, so they didn't have to follow the same time constraints as other bars where they had to shut down by 2 a.m. And it was a karaoke show, and the place was called Inferno. I don't believe they're around anymore.
Mm-mm.
And I was there from 8 p.m. until 4 a.m. the next morning. It was also the longest gig I have had to date.
I also did that show too.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you?
it was pretty crazy. I had never experienced anything like it before. I had never stayed at a bar that long ever in my life. As much as I went to bars in college, I don't think I ever was at a bar for that long in one bar. And it most of it flew by. I'd say the last 2 hours just a little. I was starting to get a little glassy eyed, and I'm like, I still got to drive home. And I was living in Asheville, so it was a long drive.
Performing
but yeah, that was my first.
Performing or being a DJ, do you have a preference?
To me, it is performing. So
well, that's a good point. Yeah,
it really is. It's a show. And we strive to put on a good show, just like any theater performance, any film performance that you do. DJing is no different. It's still a show, and you're still entertaining people, and you're trying to give them the best value for what they've paid you for. So,
well, let me ask Razor that question then. It's a good point you just made. In your opinion, Razor, what makes a good DJ?
Oh gosh, personality. You have to have it. It's not just a push play and just sit behind the I guess the DJ booth or your table or whatnot. I'm very OCD. Like when I go to other people's weddings or other people's shows, I get so like I have to bite my lip at that point because it's just like you don't have this presence, you don't have but like I said, I'm very outgoing, and there's a lot of times where I'm too outgoing. It's just you have to have it. And I don't know what it is, but you have to have it. You have to have the spontaneous, funny, click on the draw. If someone's being a smart aleck, or you every now and then you have a bad crowd, but you got a smart aleck to get them kind of back on your side. And you got to be a comedian. You've got to read the room. You've got to make sure you play in the right music. I mean, you've got to have it. And like I said, I've done this for so long that I think I have it. I don't know what it is, but I have it.
Talk about what you just said, and I'll ask Paul the question. So if you have like Rachel said, the right crowd, sometimes it just clicks, you know it. Mm-hmm. What happens when it doesn't click, or it's just not there?
You keep trying. I mean, you don't give up on the show. You just don't. That's why you're there. You are there to somehow entertain, and if you've had them and you lose them, you got to pull them back. If you never had them to begin with, you got to keep trying. You have to read your crowd. That's part of being a DJ. It's like as it is in theater. You sometimes have to read the crowd, especially in theater if you're doing improv, for example. You have to read your crowd to know what exactly you want to say next. So sometimes the crowd makes it easy. They really do. I've had weddings and gigs, at bars and stuff that were so simple. It was like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. And then I've had some where I was like, I need to get paid more.
Yeah.
But it's still rewarding when you're done with your show, whether it be a wedding or a regular gig or whatever. And, even if you get one person that comes up to you and says, man, thank you so much. That was awesome. I know it was a rough crowd, but you really pulled it out, and we really appreciate it. To me, that's so rewarding to hear that. It's I don't want to say it's better than payment because, well, at the end of the day, we got to make a living, but it's still very rewarding, and to hear that, and so it kind of makes it easy to do shows when you know that you can still gain control and get that crowd to hit the dance floor and react to what you're saying. shout out to them and they shout something back. Anything that you can do to make it work. And that's something that I think, I'm sure, Razor will agree as well with that. It's such an energizing feeling when that happens.
Have you ever done a DJ gig with Razor? Have you ever done anything together?
We've done a couple. I think way back when he first got started and I got started, I think we may have done a couple, maybe a wedding and possibly a bar gig. There's so many shows that just kind of roll into one after a while.
Yeah.
But I think we did a couple.
Let me ask Razor, in terms of the many shows you've done, is there an unusual show that you can tell people about? Say the most. I wonder. For example, have you ever done? And I guess you have a funeral or a.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have.
Have you really?
I didn't know it was a funeral. Let's rewind for a minute. Didn't know it was a funeral. Everyone was very somber at this thing, and I'm trying to liven the group up. No, I had gotten this email, and no one told me it was a funeral. And but when when everything started, it was going good, and then hearse pulled up, and they pulled this body out and set him in front of my table for 4 hours. But at the end of the day, that was one of the memories that I'm never going to forget. With Paul saying, it's, someone coming up to you, this show sucked, but it was great that you were here. He had a will and testament and said he wanted a DJ, and they hired me. And at the end, their family, even though a lot of the grandparents were like, thank you, it was just, and they were just like, they did, thank you. This is what he wanted. And even as a DJ or performer, that goes a long way. I almost want to say it's better than money, because you feel like you've done something. You've helped somebody because you don't know what they've gone through, death or a bad day or a loss of a job. We are their escape. And it just means a lot. It really does.
It's funny you said that, because I remember at my dad's funeral, they didn't have a DJ, but it was a party. It was kind of cool. Everybody told stories about him, and they were laughing and drinking. They had a good time. So I never thought about it, but no reason it couldn't be done at a funeral. Paul, the same question, if not a funeral, have you ever had an unusual gig?
I have done a funeral as well, but it was.
Did you know about it? Did you not at least know about it beforehand?
Oh no, I knew. I was so taken back the fact that I was asked to do one, but it was maybe not the same experience that Razor had, but it was one of those that was they don't want you to say anything. They just want you to have a microphone there if somebody wants to say a few words, and just, this is the type of music that this person would have wanted to have played. And it was all old country. It was George Jones and things of that nature. It was very, very classic country, and that was the whole thing. And I just sat there for 4 hours and played music for them, and they absolutely loved it. And they had these little salutes to him. They had shotguns going off, and he loved exotic cars, so they had all these different roadsters and stuff that were pulling up and kind of surrounded the area. It was kind of neat. That was definitely an unusual one. I think, to me, the most creative I had to be was, I was sent to do a wedding. It was actually a wedding. Now, Blaine, you know me, and Cory knows me as well. I'm not from around here. I am not from the South. I am from Miami, Florida originally. I grew up between Miami and New York City. So the South was kind of foreign to me. And this was probably my 3rd year in DJing. And I got sent to do a backwoods wedding.
Wow.
And when I say backwoods, I'm actually not kidding. It was in the backwoods. I had to go off the paved road onto the dirt road, go 1.5 miles down the dirt road. And they said, you'll come into an opening, and there's a rickety old cabin. That's where the wedding is. I was like, wow, really? So I pulled in, and they were right. I mean, there was just trees, nothing but dirt road. I thought I was going to hit a tree here and there as I was driving through with a big cargo van that was carrying all the equipment. And they set me up on the front porch of this rickety old cabin. And when the wedding started, you had the groomsmen all coming out in full camo with rifles, and you had the bridesmaids, which were in nice, beautiful dresses. Bride came out in a camouflage wedding dress. I am not kidding.
Yeehaw.
It was a wedding dress, full camo with hunting boots on. But I'll tell you, that was possibly one of the top 3 weddings I have done ever. I had such a good time, and they made me feel welcome. They made me feel like one of the family. It was pretty awesome. It was a great experience, but it was a little odd figuring, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pull this off? I am not country.
Talk about something also that you guys are mentioning, and that's the whole concept of dancing and the importance of getting people up and dancing, and I don't know about you, Razor, but one of my criteria is at a good party, you get people dancing, especially you get me dancing, which I don't usually dance. But as a DJ, you have a big part in that, right? In getting people up and dancing?
Yes, I've had many years of dance. I used to do hip hop, jazz, tap, ballet, you name it, I used to do it. So it's, I don't know, it's like, Paul said, you got to read the crowd. But if, you've got also your line dances. Your line dances are a lot of the fun dances to get to. And then you can kind of read the crowd, if you will. So I haven't lately because my old knees, but generally I'll go out there and dance. I'll dance with them, or I'll grab a bridesmaid, or I'll grab the bride, and we'll, hang out and dance, and just to get everyone involved. It's kind of you're not, like I said, you're not, when you DJ, you're not just you play music. You've got to interact, and even if it's, ask the groom, hey, you mind if I dance with her? Yeah, go ahead. And 9 times out of 10, we'll go up there and we'll dance, and we'll swing each other, and then I'll bring the husband in, and we'll get them dancing, and then we'll get other people dancing. It's just, it's dancing is part of it.
Well, how about you?
Have a,
Paul, same thing too. Do you get?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a dancer, not by any stretch of the imagination, and I won't even claim to be a dancer in any way. But like Cory said, the line dances, that I'll get out there. I've seen them so many times. You learn the steps over so many years. Yeah. But I'll get out there. I'll do line dances with them if it's not a huge crowd. I'll jump out, and then people be like, "Hey, look, the DJ is doing it. Why don't I do it?" But in my case, I get them. I draw them out to the floor. By any means that I can, whether it be, if it's a line dance or a couple line dances in a row that gets them out there and keeps them out there, great, I'll play it. If it's getting a sing-along going, fine. If it brings them out to the center of the dance floor, let's do it. And if I can think of something else after that to keep them out there and keep it going, then that's how I interact. But I'm very interactive with everyone. I'll pick somebody out of the crowd. I mean, and I'll call out to him. I go, yeah, that guy over there, he knows. And it's like, I don't know who he is, but hey, anything I can do to draw them in, I'll do it.
Razor, talk also about, Paul saying, drawing people in, about the use of games. Do you get the folks playing games?
Yes, I have this thing where I'll stop the music. And it could be in the middle of a song or something. I'll just stop the music, and that's when you can get everyone's attention, because now, now it's on you, and now you go big or go home at this point. And then I'll call. Normally it's the groom, and I'm like, such and such. Why did you call me at 4:30 this morning and ask for this song? I was going to do it for you. And why would you doing it in the shower? Why were you doing it in the shower? This is super weird that you would ask me this song and then normally something like the Spice Girls or Boys to Men or Backstreet Boys or something, just to get the crowd going. And then that's when, because I normally do that if I'm losing them, because weddings, a lot of their relatives, they're here to hang out, but they're not really here to and if I can get them here and keep them there, it's a great day. Other games, you've got you sit the bride and groom back to back, and you have their shoe, and who is the nastiest, and who said I love you first, and who spends the most money. Those games. it's it's life.
Well, let me ask you a question that I imagine is something that you guys have to do as well, and that's to keep up with, music and what's current music.
Yeah.
I don't follow music. I still follow, as you do. I follow Broadway show tunes, and Broadway musicals. But the
Yep.
only time I know what's happening in music is if I watch the Grammys or something. That's the one I'll keep up to date. How do you guys keep up to date on what's current?
My children.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Paul's kids are a little young for that, still, but they're getting there.
Yeah. I follow the charts. I mean, I actually look at what's current, what's on the charts right now, the Hot 100, the top, adult contemporary charts, country charts, whatever it is that the wedding that they want us to play for the wedding. That is what I'll go look at those charts, and then I'll listen to the songs. I'll make sure that it's appropriate, because there are some things out there that you just don't want to play at a wedding. It just doesn't. It's not a good thing. Now I have brides that'll I talk to before the wedding and be like, it's no holds bar. We don't care. Nobody's offended by anything here. Play whatever you want. I still try to be respectful.
Yeah.
Because if you've offended one person, you've offended too many. So I try to be respectful. It doesn't always pan out that way once the things really get going. As alcohol starts flowing, people just get a little crazy. And so but that's how I generally follow is usually the music charts.
And same thing too, Razor. What do you do to keep up with what's current?
It's my kids. I want to say that I'm lying and this is an excuse, but my kids, my 9-year-old and my 8-year-old, hey, Daddy, you need to hear this song. And I'm listening to it like, okay, all right, I like that song and I'll buy it. It's the tops. And if I'm in my office during the weekend, like Fridays and Saturdays, I'm in my office and I'm trying to get the website ready, for the week. And I'll play something on the YouTube and I'll hit play and just to see what if I'm like, I like that beat. That sounds like a cool song. And then I'll buy it and play it at a wedding or a party. And if I can see the reaction, like, this is a good song, or they don't like the song, then I don't play it as much. It's you've got to be on top. You got to be on your toes in this game.
Quick final question I'll ask you both. And I mentioned this to you, Razor, off the air, but last 9 months have been kind of tough. People aren't doing parties like they used to. Do you see doing any virtual parties? I'll ask Paul the same question in a second, but could you do anything virtually?
Was that for me or for Paul?
Yeah, well, you, Razor.
I would love to. I would love to figure out how to do that in a cool, fun manner and still kind of be when you're a DJ, you kind of got to be the center of attention with the music and the crowd. I would have to sit down and figure out how we could do that in a really cool, fun way. And it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to do that, and still have the cool sound, and and you could still figure out a cool way to come up to me and request a song or virtually request a song. It's there. I mean, it's definitely there. I could see it. I just got to figure out, or me and Paul or you guys, or we'd have to figure out just a specific and straightforward way to do it.
And Paul, the same question, because I know some entertainers now are starting to do some stuff virtually. Could you see doing this as a DJ?
I could definitely see it, and I think it's along the same thing that Razor said. Is I think that's something that is doable. I think it's something that he and I would sit down and go over it and figure out, put our heads together and figure out how to do it. Look, Cory, we both come from different backgrounds, he and I, but one thing that we do have in common here is we love to entertain. We love to put smiles on people's faces. It brings us beyond a huge amount of joy.
Yeah.
So if we can do it virtually, we'll do it. And
let's you and I talk about that sometime, because I think there's a market for it. I'll ask you as a final question real quick, Razor. If folks want to get in touch with you and Paul about a DJ gig now or in the future, best bet is to do what?
Contact us through For Dreamers Entertainment. That is the Facebook. And then you've got fordreamers.net. That is the website. Z, not an S, would be for DREAMERZ Entertainment. And that's how you get a hold of us. We have our numbers and prices and all that good stuff on there. And you can see the pictures of Paul, and you can see the pictures of what I've done, just to kind of give you a better idea. And that's where we're at, man. We'd love to see you, and anything that we can help you guys do entertainment wise, we're here for you guys.
Okay, I'd like to thank you both for being my guests on the second half hour of the Blaine's World Show, and hopefully I'll get to see you in person sometime in the next couple of years. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya.